Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. A 5-year-old dead, many injured in Pakistan's indiscriminate shelling. MasoodAzhar once again receives Great Wall of China in its defense. Another Pulwama-like conspiracy averted in Kashmir. Pakistan at risk of losing $10 billion annually owing to terror funding. An Afghan spring turns hostile against its citizens. This week, Pakistan resorted to endless shelling in Jammu and Kashmir that brought severe injuries to several innocent civilians, including women and children. Even after the deadly Pulwama attack, Islamabad is not resisting itself from creating menace at the borders. The Pakistan Army is continuously targeting civilian areas along LOC using weaponry and mortar shells. The civilians living near the border areas are terrified due to continuous cross-border firing by Pakistan military. In the latest ceasefire violations from Pakistan's side, a 5-year-old girl lost life while dozens suffered injuries in the Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. A report.
5 border villages were injured in shelling by Pakistani troops in Kashmir this week. The ceasefire violations that began on April 1st have been continuing intermittently, making life difficult for those living along the line of control. Women, children and senior citizens, everyone is at the targets of Pakistani bullets. Recently, a 5-year-old girl was killed and more than a dozen people were injured in cross-border shelling by Pakistan.
साढ़े 5 बजे हम घर के नज़दीक में थे पाकिस्तान से बम आया तो मेरी बच्ची को इंजरी हो गई, सर में लगी है चोट।
और यहाँ पे टोटल जो थे हमारे वो 13 इंजर्ड थे और एक बच्ची है उसकी डेथ हुई है। उसमें से हमने 4 लोगों को बाई एयरलिफ्ट करवाया है। यहाँ पे डीसी साहब ने जो है वो चॉपर मंगवाया था और जिसमें उनको शिफ्ट कर दिया है और बाकी जो हैं 2 लोगों को हम लोगों ने बाई रोड भेजा है।
The killing of a 5-year-old is a grave reminder of the horrors being faced by the residents living along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The everyday unprovoked shelling by the Pakistan Army shows its desperation to illegally enter into Kashmir in order to create havoc in the state. Targeting civilians through bullets and mortars reflect the worst side of Islamabad, that is essentially a self-proclaimed peace-loving nation.
इतने गोले पड़ते हैं जिनमें गिनती ही नहीं आती।
तो कितने बंदे हैं आपकी फैमिली के?
हमारी फैमिली के यहाँ 3 आदमी हैं।
मैं घर जा रहा था, रोड के ऊपर चल रहा था, अचानक फायर पाकिस्तान की तरफ से हुआ तो मार्टर जो थे वो 1-2 मार्टर मेरे नज़दीक लग गई तो उसमें छिरी लग गई मुझे।
तो कहाँ पे लगी आपको?
मेरे को टांग में लगी है, पट में 3-4 टांगे लगी।
तो काफ़ी फायरिंग वहाँ पे हो रही है?
हाँ, काफ़ी फायरिंग हो रही है, बहुत ज़्यादा ज़बरदस्त फायरिंग हो रही है।
According to an official data, the Indian Army recorded at least 2,140 ceasefire violations in 2018, up from 971 in 2017 and 449 in 2016. The loss of life along the LOC was highest in a decade, with 30 civilian casualties and 29 casualties among security personnel. In its strong retaliation to cross-border firing by Pakistan, Indian Army is only targeting military positions of Pakistan that are supporting border action team and terror activities, unlike Pakistan that is targeting the innocent Indian civilians.
Acting as a shield against MasoodAzhar's proscription in United Nations Sanctions List 1267, China has recently questioned the move by the United States to push the United Nations Security Council to blacklist the head of Pakistan-based militant group Jaish Mohammad. In its criticism to the US, China said that the Washington is scuttling China's efforts by taking the case to the Security Council. Even though China has always used its veto power in UN to shield MasoodAzhar, but lately China has been claiming that there is a positive progress in China's efforts of blacklisting the Jaish Mohammad leader. We have a report.
Recently, the United States circulated a fresh resolution in United Nations Security Council that would designate Jaish-e-Mohammed leader MasoodAzhar as a global terrorist, subjecting him to an arms embargo, travel ban and asset freeze. The resolution was drafted with British and French support following the previous strategic hold by China in UNSC. While Washington has made clear that it will use all available resources to ensure that Jaish-e-Mohammed chief MasoodAzhar is designated as a global terrorist, China has hit back at the US, terming Washington's move as not conducive to peace and stability in South Asia. After using its veto for the fourth time in putting strategic hold on MasoodAzhar in UNSC, once again China has come on front foot to condemn the move by USA, Britain and French government in bringing this fresh resolution that would proscribe Jaish-e-Mohammed leader in the UN sanctions list of 1267. Expressing China's displeasure towards the fresh resolution, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Geng Shuang said that, "We believe, under the current circumstances, forcing a draft resolution at the Security Council is not a constructive move and set a bad example. The resolution is not in accordance with the rules and practices of the Security Council. It is setting a bad example that will only complicate the matter. It is also not conducive for peace and stability in South Asia. China is opposed to this." It is pertinent to mention here that China is Pakistan's all-season ally. And in view of its growing investment in Pakistan, China at no point of time can risk its relations with Pakistan. Since listing of Pulwama attack mastermind MasoodAzhar in global terror list is against the interest of Pakistan, therefore China always uses its veto power in UNSC that acts as a shield to MasoodAzhar and its Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed.
那么中方呢，在1267委员会对有关国家这次提出的列明申请进行了全面深入的评估，我们还需要更多的时间，因此提出了技术性搁置。这个呢，完全符合安理会1267委员会的议事规则。
Pakistan's ally China, although says that it was willing to have more discussions with all parties concerned, including India, on blacklisting the head of Pakistan-based terrorist group Jaish-e-Mohammed, but every time when global powers step up to blacklist MasoodAzhar, the move ultimately gets barricaded by China.
If China opposes terrorism, it must allow this listing to go ahead. I think though we are disappointed, India must not stop its work to convince China and to have support of all other countries in the world. And if China were to remove its hold, say 1 month from now, then the listing will go ahead. So we must continue to work with China to convince them to remove the hold.
Following the Pulwama attack, there has been significant development in United Nations Security Council regarding the MasoodAzhar case owing to the US, France and the UK. But the latest resolution by these three countries did not see a welcoming response by China that criticized the US for directly taking the issue of listing MasoodAzhar as global terrorist to UN Security Council after it had put a technical hold earlier to declare him a global terrorist in the UN's 1267 Sanction Committee. On February 27th, India had handed over a dossier to Pakistan that carries specific details of Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed's complicity in the Pulwama attack and the presence of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps and its leadership in Pakistan. Since this dossier clearly exposes MasoodAzhar's role in Pulwama terror attack, therefore, now it would be difficult for Pakistan to keep Jaish leader MasoodAzhar out of the global terror list until and unless it decides to permanently stay hidden behind the Great Wall of China.
After the dastardly terror attack by Pak-backed terrorists on Indian paramilitary forces in Pulwama, a similar attack by Pak-linked Hizbul Mujahideen came to light when a low-intensity blast inside a private car took off near a CRPF convoy passing on Jammu-Srinagar highway. Though all the soldiers in the convoy escaped unhurt, the attack has again triggered the fateful memories of Pulwama incident. The terror operative was soon apprehended by the security forces, giving further lead in the investigations. A report.
Jolting the memories of Pulwama terror attack, a low-intensity blast took off inside a private car that hit an Indian paramilitary bus in a convoy passing on Jammu-Srinagar highway near Banihal in Jammu and Kashmir. All the soldiers in the convoy escaped unhurt, while minor damage was done to one of the CRPF vehicles. Swift in action, the Indian security forces soon nabbed Owais Amin, a Hizbul Mujahideen terror operative who was alleged to be driving the improvised explosive-laden car.
He was having injuries and burn marks on his body. He was apprehended on the basis of scientific evidence and the clues collected from the scene of crime. The accused was put to sustained questioning, during which he confessed his role in the terrorist act. Further investigation of the case is on.
The car that was involved in the failed operation was fitted with all the basic materials required to create a potential improvised explosive device. The materials were suspected to locally procured by the terror operative.
A Centro vehicle loaded with explosives hit bus of CRPF at Tathar, Banihal, while the convoy was moving from Srinagar to Jammu. As a result, the CRPF bus suffered minor damage and the CRPF personnel travelling in the said bus had a narrow escape. Security forces reacted swiftly and the area was cordoned off. On minute search of the place of occurrence, different types of explosive and inflammable substance, including more than 50 gelatin sticks, urea, sulfur, ammonium nitrate, 2 bottles of petrol, 2 LPG cylinders were found strewn on the highway at the spot. In addition, one live fabricated ID was also recovered in a tiffin carrier.
Incriminating evidences and interrogations done with the Hizbul Mujahideen terror operative are suggestive of Pakistan's link to the failed terror attack on the Indian security forces. Security agencies have been probing if the explosion inside the car was a dry run for an attack similar to Pulwama terror attack in February.
Islamabad's bankrupt situation is on the verge of getting even worse owing to its continuous terror funding. In a confession to Pakistan's role in terror funding, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi in a press conference sounded gloomy when he expressed his fear of Pakistan getting blacklisted in Financial Action Task Force due to India's diplomatic heft in the terror funding watchdog. The blacklisting of Pakistan in FATF can cost it $10 billion of aid annually. That would lead to major setback to Pakistan's economy, which is already suffering from a grave economic downfall. Newsweek South Asia has a report.
The fear of global isolation for Pakistan is growing by each passing day. From a very long time, it has repeatedly been called out and exposed for its support to the most dreaded terrorist organizations across the world. This time, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi himself accepted the hand of Pakistan in terror funding and is now fearful of Pakistan's entry into the blacklist of FATF. In a recent press conference, Qureshi said that the Foreign Office of Pakistan is calculating the annual loss if Pakistan is pushed into the blacklist by the FATF owing to India's diplomatic heft in the terror funding watchdog organization.
पाकिस्तान ग्रे लिस्ट में आ चुका था, ये हकीकत है। हम जब आए, पीटीआई की गवर्नमेंट आई, इमरान खान की हुकूमत आई, तो हम ग्रे लिस्ट में थे। हमने जब कैलकुलेट किया और हमने एक्सपर्ट से कैलकुलेशन कराई, सिर्फ ग्रे लिस्ट में रहने से पाकिस्तान को कम से कम $10 अरब का नुकसान हुआ है। मैं इस जवाब दे दूं, $10 अरब, ये मैं ऐसे नहीं मार रहा, मैं ये एनालिसिस करवा के बात कर रहा हूं। फॉरेन ऑफिस ने एनालिसिस करवाया था, ये ग्रे लिस्ट का ब्लैक लिस्ट का एनालिसिस हमने अब कहा है करो, अल्लाह ना करे अगर वो हो जाए। ये है इसकी भयानक शक्ल।
The intergovernmental body which combats money laundering and terror financing had last year placed Pakistan in the grey list of countries, deeming it to be non-compliant with anti-money laundering and terrorist financing regulations. In February this year, the Paris-based watchdog condemned the Pulwama terror attack claimed by the Pakistan-based Jaish Mohammad and slammed the South Asian country for not having proper understanding of the terror financing risk posed by the various terrorist groups of Pakistan. The organization named 8 terror groups in particular, and in a recent visit to Pakistan, the terror funding watchdog maintained that Islamabad did not take effective action against any of the 8 major outlawed organizations. The delegation expressed reservations over lack of cooperation among law enforcement agencies and the procedure of taking action against these groups. It also expressed concern over government's dual stance on action against the terror groups that have resorted to collecting donations from mosques. The next FATF review would take place in June in Washington, and before that, Pakistan will have to show compliance on 16 points mentioned by the FATF that have been agreed for May. In addition to the 16 measures, FATF will also review on 3 issues that were left out in the last review. Despite getting plunged into a deplorable economic situation, Pakistan continues to fund terrorists on its soil, which certainly medicates its prospects of escaping its embarrassing and prolonged stay in the grey list of FATF.
Spring in Afghanistan has turned hostile for its residents. The country is brewing in violence after Taliban militancy has escalated in all of its provinces. With no resolute agreements after latest peace talks held between US and Taliban, the Afghan leadership is up against a greater challenge to protect its citizens. Worsening the situation for Afghan locals further, recent flash floods caused by heavy rains have caused a massive loss of life and property in the region. Moreover, a monetary setback has also befallen on Afghan traders and travellers in wake of Pakistan's airspace restrictions, doubling fares of Afghan-India flights, a report.
Taliban militancy has escalated in Afghanistan, although US and Taliban seek to leverage talks on the peace settlement, a gamble that would risk hardening position of Afghanistan. Although Abdul Rashid Dostum escaped unhurt from the ambush attack on his convoy, one of his bodyguards was killed and 2 others were injured in the attack. This was the second such attack on Dostum since his return from exile last year. The political heavyweights and Afghan security forces have remained constant targets for Taliban insurgents in the country. Last month, hundreds of Afghan forces were killed during heavy clashes with Taliban militants in southern, western and northern Afghanistan. The attacks have also caused heavy civilian casualties. More than 3,000 civilians have lost lives and above 4,000 were forced to leave their homes in a span of last 3 months. Amid brewing Taliban militancy, host of other factors too have disrupted the common livelihood in Afghanistan. The recent flash floods caused by heavy rains has left a trail of devastation across 7 provinces. At least 32 were reported dead and more than 12 were missing.
تبعات فاجعه بسیار زیاد است، حدوداً اضافه‌تر از 200 خانه در یک منطقه که من خودم رفتم دیدم. احتمال عظیم میشه که تخریب قسماً و یا مکمل تخریب شده باشه. تمام وسایل مردم زیر گل و لای شده بود که ما اونا رو دیدیم.
The floods have worsened an already desperate situation. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced and it has also put this year's wheat harvest at risk.
هم خونه ما هم کشاورزی ما تهدید کرده که به طور کل به شما بگم اگر شما بریم ببینیم گریه شما می‌بینیم. من یک جفت کشتمند و خدا رو شاهد میگیرم که من
Another setback for the citizens of Afghanistan came in the wake of airspace restrictions in Pakistan due to simmering tensions between India and Pakistan. The restrictions have forced commercial and passenger flights that connect Afghanistan with India, a major trading partner, to double back west through Iranian airspace and then to India. Pakistan has put airspace restrictions after India successfully bombed Jaish-e-Mohammad terror camps in Balakot through an airstrike post-Pulwama attack in Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Afghan Spring has turned hostile for its countrymen who have been facing Taliban militancy and at the same time enduring devastating floods and a major monetary loss for Afghan traders after Pakistan closed its airspace. At the center stage of turmoil, Afghanistan has sustained a heavy loss of life and property in recent months. With Taliban militancy on rise and their denial to strike an agreement with US after long rounds of peace talks has further deteriorated the situation in the war-torn country.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Surbhi Sharma signing off on the behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.